Everybody ready? Pause I got.
If you'll join us in the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, here we are. It's November and we got to have the windows open. This is a real treat. Welcome to the monthly town board meeting, November 2nd, Philipstown, New York. Monthly town board meeting of October 5th, 2017.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Weekly town workshop of October 18th, 2017.
So moved.
Hey,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Bid opening October 25th, highway materials.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. There it is. Committee reports, Conservation Board.
Okay, the Conservation Board met on October 10th. We've dealt with the Open Space Institute, Glenwood. This has come up before. This is in regards to the fill and riprap. This particular phase was Phase 2, and the installation of the 4 parking spaces. This really went very well. They were well prepared. They laid out, you know, if you come in, you follow the details of what you're told, it goes very well. So that went very well. Our ongoing issue, of course, is the 17 Ox Yoke Road over in Continental Village. This was mainly started by tree cuttings and then actually a failed septic system. We had a number of meetings, including meetings over on the site. We actually had an appeal from an adjacent neighbor, which I responded to because I believe there's some confusion in the requests of the applicant in regards to the specific items that were decided by the Conservation Board on the 10th, which provided conditional approvals, which involved plantings, the actual septic repair and separation, which involved a clay barrier, which would be placed, of course, between the actual septic and the actual waterway, and also our own engineer to study the actual water pipes that were actually approved in this particular waterway once that was determined by the Conservation Board to have no biodiversity or environmental necessity to maintain in that condition. One thing which was an issue when they did go was apparently the Board of Health, I don't know if it was an oversight on their part or whatever, but they didn't catch the fact that the septic was not actually 100 feet from the adjacent well to the next door neighbor. When they actually reviewed the maps, it showed 2 of the fields which did not comply, but once they actually did the walk down, it appeared it was only one particular field of the septic. So that particular area will have to be fixed in addition to the other items on the conditional permit.
But you're saying it's going to get outside the 100-foot?
It has to be, yes. It has to be readjusted so that it can be. The engineer for the applicant felt that they could do so, and the neighbor next door was okay with that.
But are they coming back, or is this being worked out?
Well, they have to come back to Conservation Board because they have to also show us these conditions, and Ron Gaynor has to finish his report on that one particular item.
Great.
So that's an ongoing issue. The neighbor did raise a point, which is something that at least that community and maybe other communities that, especially on lakes, may have to consider, and that is the actual septic systems as far as possible failing and causing problems into lakes themselves. So that's another issue which I advise the applicant that they should go to the Board of Health to discuss, since they're really the experts in that area. We also had some discussion regarding Homeland Towers. This is a Vineyard Road issue. You have to remember, of course, that the Conservation Board has a very narrow scope on this one. The Zoning Board, of course, is the lead agency. There were pipes sticking out of the ground. Our engineer, Ron Gaynor, has been tasked with that job, and he will report back to us as well on that. We had an additional site visit to the Banker property. This is on Kings Dock Road down on the Hudson River. This, if you've attended the meetings for over a year, you know that we've discussed this. This has been ongoing restoration. The particular area that we reviewed was a DEC area. We reviewed an extensive planting program, and I have to say we took a walk of the entire facility site, and everything's looking very well down there, so making a lot of progress. And that's it. Yep.
Thanks, Mike. Recreation.
I was unable to attend the rec committee meeting, but I did get a report from Amber.
Where were you?
I've been a little busy. Sorry.
He's out to lunch with me.
Yeah.
Let me write your name down now.
Would you please? Sad to announce that Miss Sally Brady will be leaving the Learning Center. Sally's been with us for 10 years, and she will be greatly missed. Winter registration opened on Monday. You can find the book online at www.philipstownrecreation.com. There's a senior luncheon. Richard, you should go on November 15th. Call the rec center to register. The date has been selected for the Winter Carnival. It will be Saturday, February 10th. Let's hope for snow and cold so that we can actually have the ice rink in use this year. So, the next commission meeting was scheduled for November 28th. That's it.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah. Philipstown Communities That Care.
I did not attend the October 25th Communities That Care meeting, but we will.
See this? JVT
We
and
were
Nancy
out to
Montgomery.
lunch again.
Both with a black check mark next to your names.
But because of their hard work and cooperation, we will be discussing more on item number 4 on the agenda.
Good. Planning Board.
Okay, Planning Board, I did attend the meeting on October 19th. Okay. All right, I had not a big agenda, but there was 4 items on the agenda. The first item on the agenda was a return of escrow of La Casa LLC, Blue Devil Lane in Cold Spring. The board did approve this under a condition that all the landscaping has been completed. I guess Ron Gaynor was going to follow up to ensure that all the landscaping was completed before they return the escrow. Next on the agenda, new one, it was Barbara Peck Eisler, Lake Celeste Drive, Albany Post Road. They're proposing the construction of a new single-family residence, a driveway, a detached garage. This is on a 19-acre parcel on a private road which already has 14 houses on it. The site will require access. The board declared it to be a major project and an unlisted seeker action. The site visit was scheduled for November 12th at 9:30. Referrals were made to the Conservation Board and the Garrison Fire Department. Old business. Chris Buck, 1657 Route 9 on 9D in Cold Spring. This is the old Patterson estate. He's been before the planning board the last several months. He's seeking to renovate the existing structure there as well as addition. So it's going to be an office as well as a pool, a garage, and a pool house. He did receive approval from the zoning board for the oversized garage. Public hearing will be held at the next meeting, which is November 16th, 7:30 at the old VFW Hall. Hudson Highland Reserve, as you know, they've been through the planning board the last several years. They are on the agenda as well. They completed EAF Part 2 has been completed, as I indicated last month. They are now moving on to EAF Part 3, and that was all submitted. It was a pretty big package from what I could see that it was submitted. The planning board is going through along with Ron Gaynor and AKRF as well. The planning board indicated that this is going to take some time. They're hoping to get it through, completed by the next meeting, but they couldn't guarantee that they could get it done by the next meeting. So hopefully, if it's not done, it will be discussed at the following month in December. And as you know, Andy was here today, so the planning board usually does not meet in December, but will be meeting this December as well. The planned tree cutting around the dam area is scheduled for this month as well up there. Next board meeting will be this November 16th, 7:30, Kimball Avenue. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Zoning Board.
Zoning has not met since our last town board meeting, but they will be meeting Monday, November 13th, which will be a joint meeting with the Conservation Board. And the main topic is the cell towers, obviously, and it's going to be at the Philipstown Recreation Center.
All right. Highway.
Okay, Philipstown Town Board, Carl Frazenda, Highway Superintendent, work performed by the Philipstown Highway Department for the month of October. The highway crew continues to grade dirt roads, fill potholes on paved roads, and clear waterways. They also replaced pipes and basins. As leaves continue to drop, there's plenty of leaf clearing being done. A new turbine blower attachment was purchased for the skid steer Bobcat. This comes just in time for clearing leaves off the road as the season is in full swing. Paving was completed for the Dahlia House driveway as well as the Town Hall parking lot. Road repairs were made to Phillipsbrook Road after a home delivery water truck rollover occurred earlier in the month. Material bids were open and awarded for 2018. Notifications will be going out soon. Phone call volume for October was approximately 30 calls regarding downed trees, road complaints, and other road issues. The Highway Department spent roughly $6,700 in October for vehicle maintenance, above submitted by Carl Frazenda, Highway Superintendent. I wanted to thank Carl and the crew for paving the driveway and the parking lot, as well as getting rid of the container so all that could take place. So
Yeah.
they've
really
worked
good.
very well with us.
Really helpful.
Yep.
To add to that Highway Department report, we also have applied for an emergency repair permit for Manitou Station Road. So we were hoping to have just the general repair permit for down there, but we wouldn't have that probably for another 2 weeks, which would mean we wouldn't start the job for 3 weeks, which puts us almost into December. So we'd like to get going next week. We sent an overnight letter out today to the DEC. Hopefully they'll have it tomorrow. They have 2 days to respond. By next Wednesday, we should be able to start doing some work down there. So, because during this last rain event, the road flooded, and we had rain, but we didn't have an unusual amount of rain.
Are we going to inform the citizens that live over there what the
Yeah,
plan is?
they're expecting something is coming. He's been waiting to send out notices until he had a permit ready, but he has lights down there, so they know something's pending. But at any rate, that's going to start next week. So that's a good thing, yep. Building and land.
No.
We got the building.
It's close.
Yeah, all the communication between the two buildings is done.
Mhm.
Now we just got to get some network equipment over there, and it should be ready to
The
go.
building looks great. It really does. So I'm looking forward to getting going on this building. We'll,
Do we get any confirmation on when they're going to start the file system over there? Because that's holding things up a little bit right
There
now.
was a delivery delay on the base for the system,
I know.
so I know that took some time to get. It was placed, the order was placed.
I know, yeah.
I haven't spoke to Mike recently about it, but
But that's about the last thing they have to do before they put the flooring in there.
Right.
yeah, it'd be nice to get it done.
our goal was Thanksgiving, and it looks like
It's going to be close to it.
Rich will be making turkey in there.
Be over there.
I was just looking for a letter from a constituent thanking the Highway Department for their great work. I thought it would be good to read it, but I can't find the attachment. So, again, constituents continue to reach out to us to tell us what a great job the Highway Department's doing. It's nice to hear.
Yeah, it is nice to hear. Butterfield Library.
She didn't send a report.
What's going on this
She was
month?
with us.
Cemetery
It
Committee.
was fun.
Okay, the Cemetery Committee met on October 10th. Basically, we've looking to do fall restorations. Our stonemason was delayed, so we did not start him. However, we also had, on October 12th, we went to the county cemetery meeting, which basically comprised of us reviewing the potential to create a 501(c), which is quite detailed. Obviously, we discussed that in depth as to officers that would have to be appointed in terms, and obviously how basically the money would be handled if it came in. Also, the name is important as well, because we're really trying to look beyond just the local area. This may also spur the ability to be able to create one for the actual Philipstown Cemetery Committee as well, so we could take our lead from that as well. I did make a request of the group to be able to approach Marion Adele about the very low amount of money that has been allocated for the entire 6 towns, that it's really a disgrace, and that, in these times when the sales tax is a lot higher, that there should be consideration for that, and they're discussing that for possible future meetings. Today, I did meet with the stonemasons. He's available now. Ironically, as well, we had the owner of the properties there, so we were able to discuss the road. I didn't realize that the actual school owns a small right-of-way running down the one side of between their road and the cemetery. There's a right-of-way for the school, so they can get back to the pond and so forth. But I was very happy that the owner was there. Also, one of the property owners showed up. They're actually putting in plantings for the future, and they were very, they liked the cemetery. They actually expressed that they might have an interest in joining, and that would be terrific if we had people that were so close there that were very, interested in that. So that was a very good discussion. With the stonemason, we'll be concentrating on the Cedar Street Cemetery this fall. There's a number of areas in there as well that we want to continue on doing, but obviously the cemeteries have made quite an improvement. We've had a request also from a resident in the North Highland Cemetery. They provided us, they are asking for some help to research a family. They have some information, but trying to ascertain exactly what we'll end up finding out from this is quite involved. So we have a research team. I know I speak an awful lot about restorations and maintenance, and that's extremely important, but we also have a research team because our cemeteries are quite historic, and they have quite a few mysteries to them, and we don't know a lot of them, so it's really an interesting search. So if anybody's ever interested, we would certainly welcome anyone to join, because it's a good group, we work well together, and I think we've had a lot of compliments from a lot of people who walk by there and see such a dramatic difference in just a few years. Okay, and that's it.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, the first item on the agenda is a resolution awarding the 2018 highway material bids. We have a memorandum from Carl Frisenda dated today. Attached are my 2018 material bid recommendations for the town of Philipstown Highway Department. I won't read everything to you. Everything that's highlighted in yellow is his recommendations, and this whole list is on file in the town clerk's office.
It's funny, the disparity in pricing. Some of it, you gotta wonder how anybody's gonna make any money delivering stuff for this cost, but they say they're going to.
That's not our problem.
No, it's not.
So the ones that are not highlighted, they're not being accepted.
No.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are close, but some of them are way off. So just, well, if Carl's happy with them, we did have a discussion regarding distance and fuel and wear and tear and comparing the bids, where you may get a lower bid, but it may be so far away that you have to drive to get it, that it's just not worth going. So I know there are some considerations with that in mind. But other than that, I don't, just a couple things leaped out at me here, but a bid's a bid. And most of these people we've dealt with, we know who they are. Could I get a motion on a resolution accepting the highway materials bids?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Upon the recommendation of the highway superintendent, there it is.
Next item is a resolution authorizing the release of escrow funds for Jeremy Sampson of Old West Point Road. At September 21st Planning Board meeting, the motion was made to release the funds.
Okay, we have a letter here that motion was made. If the planning board is fine with it, we should be fine with it. Could I get a motion on the resolution authorizing the release of escrow funds for Jeremy Sampson?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
The next item is a resolution authorizing Supervisor Shea to sign the filming permit for Possible Productions Incorporated for a mini-series shoot on October 17th, 2017, and this is Nunc Pro Tunc.
They got quite a bit of star power up here with us. I don't know why we're not getting asked to be in these mini-series.
The documentaries they're asking you.
If it was a horror movie, maybe. All right, could I get a motion authorizing the film permit, Nunc Pro Tunc?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Good cash flow for the town.
The next item is a discussion regarding a new position, Coordinator of Prevention, Treatment, and Recovery Resources.
Okay, Councilwoman Montgomery had requested that we take an initiative, so I'll turn it over to you, Nancy.
Thank you. This is, I'm glad this is on the agenda. This is something that has been talked about for a little while. It came from a resident, and then the coalition that cares discussed it a little bit amongst themselves, and it did appear on the ballot. I don't know if any of you saw this community congress ballot, and the results of that aren't in yet. But prior to that, it had been in discussion. You know, in my 5 years that I've been working with this opioid crisis, I remember the first forum I attended was about 5 years ago. It was a forum that Senator Terry Gibson held up at Dutchess Community College, where he brought community leaders together and did a massive Narcan training. There were hundreds of people in the audience, and that was the first of its kind that I recall 5 years ago. And since then, I've been attending forums, going to workshops, and listening to local leaders, state, federal leaders, and feeling like finally, you know what, we're not really getting very far with this. The statistics are still rising, and our community continues to be brokenhearted. So the thought came about that we need our own coordinator. We need someone to pull resources together for the benefit of our residents, because when it hits you and your family, you're not really quite sure where to go. So the idea with this is that we have one person here in Philipstown who can pull all of those resources together, pull the prevention resources that are available. And there is so much available, because there is a lot that the federal and the state government has done to combat this crisis. It's just so vast, and there are a lot of duplications, and, you know, really, honestly, the right hand doesn't know what the left is doing with this crisis. So I thought, and I don't want to mention the person's name yet, but I'm really grateful that this idea was brought to us, and I'm happy to support it, and I'm hoping that the board will support this position. That the understanding is that we need to create a position. We need to have someone paid to do this. It can't just be, you know, volunteer. We do have many great volunteers working on this issue, and I think with someone who's paid a stipend to help us along, it will go make a big difference.
All right.
So thanks for considering it.
What would the next step be? A workshop to interview? Or?
Well, I think it would be, I think it would be to lay out a job description, but not such a rigid job description to say, you know, this person has to have this degree or that. Just, you know, in my experience in working with the coalition and different groups throughout the region, you know, we can brainstorm and come up with some ideas ourselves and reach out to some people. Maybe we have to advertise, though. Maybe that's the protocol, and then it would be to interview. I don't know what the protocol is for a stipend job for a consultant to come in. Do we?
Pretty much at our discretion.
Okay, so I think, you know, like anything, we've been talking about these things, and it's like, okay, we have to wait to you know, come up with a job description, then interview, and then I don't want it to take too long. Maybe we'll get the coalition's advice. There may be some key people who are trained to do exactly this that the coalition knows about, and take it from there.
I guess they would have the recommendation.
Yeah. I mean, I have some ideas. If you guys have some, feel free to share. In other communities, it does come from a law enforcement perspective, which is fine. I don't know if that's the way we want to go.
Yeah, sometimes people might be a little apprehensive
Yeah.
on that end, so
I mean,
it's good to
they
have
are
a
the
different one, too.
Could be a retired law enforcement. You
Yeah.
don't mean an active
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Right.
retired.
I mean, they are on a lot of times they know what the front line looks like, and they know where they can bring that.
Also from the EMS community. Somebody
Yeah.
from the EMS community would also have the same angle.
Yeah, I certainly would defer to the coalition.
Yeah, and I would like, recommendations about how you would like to see this go forward. I don't want to just, if it means I'll give you a list of names and we'll interview. If it means we need to advertise, happy to do that. Maybe we'll, get some good applicants if we do advertise. And I'll arrange, that meeting. So,
Yeah, I'd be inclined to follow you on this, and
Okay.
I think your intuitions about all of it have been good so far. Councilwoman Montgomery and I did discuss this, and we do have room to put this in the budget, so I'm recommending that we put a $10,000 line in the budget for this coming year.
that's great.
So,
Thank you.
oh, well, thank you for
Thank
bringing
you.
it to us. It's important, and as you say, it's at times like that, people don't want to have to go looking in all corners. If you had one person they could speak to and to direct them, that would be invaluable.
So I think at this point we should authorize the town clerk to advertise for a prevention. We'll call it the Prevention, Treatment, and Recovery Resource Coordinator. We'll have them submit resumes to the town supervisor, and then we'll compile a list and look at the resumes, and then from there hold interviews.
Right, I would rather those resumes come through the clerk, though, because then we'll have them on record.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so should they?
Don't you think we should write up some type of description of what it's gonna be? Not just the title, we need something more.
Yeah, I mean,
written for
I think it simply is the coordinator to access prevention, treatment, and recovery resources that are available throughout the region.
The job description would probably be written by the professional that we're gonna
Yeah.
hire, really.
I
because
can
they're
I
gonna
can
tell you-
research other
Yeah,
other communities have
Just
done
something
this,
small,
so
just
Yeah.
like you said, maybe get some insight from the coalition, maybe they already have something like that.
I mean,
so by the time we advertise, it
We'll
won't
have
be until next week, so.
that's easy to do. I mean, I really think it's just the coordinator of those resources, and those resources are pretty much laid out, and I
So
can
if
do
you want to
that.
put that together between now and the time that we start getting those resumes, but obviously we're not going to, maybe you can,
We don't put complete job descriptions
No.
in the advertisement anyway, so,
No, not the complete, just
yeah,
some
okay.
background I'm looking for.
but I would like to get it going. So to that end, I would like to authorize the clerk to advertise for this position, and then in the interim, between now and then, we'll
Great.
get an outline of a job description. Could I get a motion on the resolution authorizing the clerk to advertise for the coordinator of prevention, treatment, and recovery resources?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Hi, my name is Lithgow Osborne, and I live in Garrison. I fully support this, the idea of hiring somebody for this position. I would strongly urge you to keep an open mind as to who's going to fill this position, because I know personally that this is not a law enforcement issue. This is a mental health issue. This is about addiction. It's about recovery. So I'm not certain that somebody with a law enforcement background is the ideal person. So I would just like to remind the board to keep an open mind and really look for someone who fits the bill, who is going to work with those individuals who are suffering addiction to get them the help that they need. It's not about punitive measures, it's about recovery and about the safety of the community. Thank you.
Yeah,
Social worker type.
Yes, exactly, social worker.
yeah, I agree with Lithgow, and when I set out to do this, I wanted someone that wasn't, and the trend has been someone who is law enforcement, has that background, but I would prefer, from what I have experienced, I would prefer to have someone with a mental health background.
Yeah. I think that's
But
important.
but you could find someone with both, and that's would
If
be
you can
ideal.
find that unicorn, great.
I think this person isn't gonna do the treatment. This person's gonna do the
People on how to.
direct.
This is heavy
So it-
prevention.
it
Something
could
happens to
be,
somebody.
like, I can think of of a retired narcotics agent, that would be.
Me too,
That
yeah.
would be a perfect
Right.
person for this job, because they know where to go,
Right.
who to send them to. You know, they're not a social worker, but that's the other angle of it, that they know where to go
Yeah.
and what to do, and how to get them the help,
That's,
yeah,
yeah, that is,
yeah.
Yeah, a big part of this will be making sure that there's a level of comfort and discretion.
Exactly.
No, we're not looking to penalize anybody by any means. This person is not for that. I mean,
Yes.
Right.
It's to get them the help they need, not
Yes.
to get them.
to coordinate the help that's available,
Yes.
really. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for supporting that.
Yeah, it's important.
Okay, the next is a resolution appointing Ann Gallagher as confidential secretary to the supervisor effective immediately.
So we're happy to take this resolution up, but it's also tinged with a fair amount of sadness because this also means that Dorothy Turner is not doing the job anymore. Dorothy Turner passed away, and Dottie had worked for the town for I don't know how many years, 24 years, and has been there before any of us. And she was my assistant, and I just am still grieving over the fact that when I walk in, Dottie's not sitting at the desk, and I miss her greatly. I've known her my entire life. She babysat for me as a child, and it's quite a blow to the whole town. Somebody who's so much a fixture, is the whole Smith family. So I miss her a lot. And
And you always could count on Dottie to give you her honest opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Dottie
Discreetly.
had the pulse of the community also. I
When you were in
mean,
there to talk to her about something, you were gonna hear.
it was an unvarnished
It was
opinion,
very
yes.
helpful, honestly.
It-
Dottie,
Yeah.
It was good
Good
advice.
yeah.
Yeah, and if you wanted to know which way things were going in town, what do you think about this? And she would tell you if you had a bad idea. And I had plenty.
She was also very helpful to me personally starting out. I mean, made me feel very comfortable, realized it's new position and so forth. And so she had that ability to make me feel comfortable and give me some insight in certain areas.
Yeah.
So that was very nice of her to do that.
Yep, she's definitely missed by everybody here.
Yeah.
No question about it.
Real salt of the earth. So, with that, we're bringing on Ann Gallagher to fill that position. Ann's been working with the town for a long time also. She's been in there a couple of weeks. It's also a pleasure to see Ann every day. So I think that was a good replacement. She and Dottie had worked together for many years. They'd known each other. Again, two people have known each other for their entire lives. So our condolences to Dottie's family. And with that, I would accept a resolution appointing Ann Gallagher as confidential secretary to the supervisor. That'd be me.
I so move.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you.
Okay, the next is a discussion with regard to FOIL requests and the processing of the same.
So this issue came up because when a FOIL comes in, many times it's just a matter of course. A lot of things don't even have to be foiled, honestly. We'll just give them over. But, with the town board's emails, we'd rather be notified if our emails are going to be, sent out and, make sure that we're comfortable, or at least we're aware of what's going on. So that's basically what we want to just sort of institutionalize this as a process that any board member or the town board as a whole, if our emails are being foiled, we'd want to be notified and say, okay, we go through them. Generally, we would go through them anyway, but that's what this is about.
Yeah, I brought this up. Obviously, any document is foilable in the town, and it was unfortunate that an email exchange between myself and a constituent who wanted to, wanted me to help her with a complaint and remain anonymous. Her email appeared on a candidate for town board's Facebook page. Her email, her contact info, her name. She had a valid complaint. Her complaint, is a controversial issue in the town, and unfortunately, that email was shared immediately with this candidate, and it appeared on Facebook. So the constituent is obviously skeptical about calling on her elected officials to help in the future. And we are facing that issue. So with that, what I would like to be informed of is when I'm being foiled, basically, and to give that the 5 days that is allowed to review it with the rest of the town board and with our attorney if necessary, before a constituent's information, name, and contact info is shared. So with that, I would just like a resolution passed that any FOIL request involving me is provided to me upon the request.
It's not just you.
Well, it seems to be sometimes. I mean, in the past, there were FOIL requests that we were named in, and when we received that notification before the FOIL request was issued. And,
So we'll make sure that happens going forward.
okay, thank you.
So with that, we would, I'd like to adopt a resolution saying that town board, any town board member whose emails or any correspondence has been foiled would be notified of that request and given ample opportunity to consult and act on it. Could I get a motion on the resolution?
Also moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And I vote aye. Thank you.
Okay, the next item is the Code Enforcement Monthly Report. Okay. Fees collected, $26,202.50. 44 number of permits issued. 14 addition, alterations, or repairs to residential buildings. 30 all other permits. 40 COs issued. 4 stop work orders issued. 3 inspection of public assembly. 2 inspections of commercial occupancies, and those were for fire.
There's that controversial public assembly thing. We want to make sure people don't die in tent fires. It's crazy. Yeah, it's a good thing to go and take a look. One thing I will say about Greg is he just completely proactive. I mean, he is out there a lot, as is evidenced by 40 certificates of occupancy being issued in the past month. So that means we've had the opportunity to take a look at 40 different projects that need a CO. And I think there's a real comfort level that people are just coming in, they have an open discussion with him, he points them in a direction, they get the project underway, and they're on a path, and everybody's happy. So we have seen a real uptick in the number of permits issued, the number of inspections performed, just the system is really working well down there, so.
Don't forget to give Bob some more.
Bob Emmerich, exactly. And also, really critical are the fire inspections, because commercial buildings, and most of the commercial buildings in town also have apartments above them. So it's critical that these fire inspections get done, and he's out there doing that also. So it is busy, and we've had, quite a few violations over the past months. Everybody's well aware of the illegal dumping by now. We got right on that because Greg, he's been in close contact with the DEC. We're going to be dragging both those gangs into court and sweating them. So it's good to see how highly functioning the building department is. So.
When they do the building, there'll be even more.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to expect a lot over there. We have to double production. Also have the Cold Spring building.
I was waiting for you to stop.
I couldn't, Tina, you could have stopped me. Shut up over there, would you?
The code enforcement report for the Village of Cold Spring, $1,987.97 fees collected, 11 permits issued, 7 addition, alterations, or repairs to residential buildings, 2 additions, alteration, or repairs to commercial buildings, 6 COs issued, and 2 operating permits issued.
The operating permits are also commercial building permits, which means that the building inspectors had a chance to go and take a look at the operations, and that also covers the fire inspection. So our thanks to Greg Wunner and Bob Emmerich and the whole gang down at Building Department. Thank you.
Okay, I had 2 late submissions for the agenda. One is from Carl, and he's asking for a resolution for the purchase of a stainless steel Western plow. He's gotten 2 proposals, quotes, one from Hudson River Truck and Trailer for $5,950, and the other from Trailer King $6,024.74. He would like that to go to Hudson River Truck and Trailer.
Which is
Close one.
the low bidder.
You missed it by $74. That's smart. Tell Carl to start getting these things in a little bit earlier.
They must be replacing the plow on it, because I
Maybe they
know
had a plow that's not worth fixing, and they,
Yeah, man, or-
I
They're
don't
going
know,
to a-
but this is a guess.
going to a
This-
V plow as well.
Minuteman,
Yeah.
just discovering it. At any rate,
This is in his budget.
oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. So I have no problem adopting the resolution. Could I get a motion on the resolution for the purchase of a stainless steel Western snowplow?
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Okay, then I have a release of funds for Lascow LLC, Lady Blue Devils Lane in Cold Spring, and that the planning board made the motion to release the escrow on October 19th.
Again, we have a letter from the planning board okaying this, so if we get a motion releasing the ESCO funds.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye, thank you.
Just one note on that, as I indicated, it was only supposed to be approved if all the landscaping was completed, so I'm assuming that it was, landscaping was completed with this here. I don't know.
So the building inspector is supposed to check that.
So Bob, maybe you
I have good faith in that group.
No, it just, maybe he didn't get there, or not, I don't know, because it only was over, no, just a week ago, so I'll follow up. I don't think it's Skang, I don't know who it is. I'm not sure. It's on that road, but that name doesn't sound familiar to me.
It's the same group that owns the Perks Plaza.
Oh, okay, I got you, so.
Oh, I see, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. I'll follow up tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot to worry about there.
Miss Connor has it.
Yes, Ms. Connor.
It relates to the landscaping, not in the front, but in the back, the screening for the neighbors across the creek.
Okay.
Just there were several iterations when that was supposed to be completed, and that it was not clear whether it had actually been completed.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take a ride by and then I'll go see Greg tomorrow as well.
We're gonna send Inspector Flaherty out. You don't want to cross him. Do not make me send the goon squad out. People have no idea. All right, thank you. We got workshops.
You know, I forgot to mention during the rec report, I'm looking at vacancies. We do have a vacancy on the rec commission.
When was this gonna come up?
After lunch.
Vacancies, I just looked at vacancies.
We're not even there yet.
No, but I should have read it in my rec report and I forgot to, but there is an opening on the rec commission.
Who left?
Jane Ponton left, it was
Oh, yeah,
quite a while
that was
ago.
quite a
And they
while.
still haven't filled it, so if anybody out there would like to be on the recreation commission, there is an opening. Fun group.
So can we authorize the town clerk to advertise for
Might as well, right?
positions?
Yeah, it's been advertised once. but
Already has
let's
been?
throw it
All
out
right.
there again.
Let's keep it going. Anything from the board?
Yeah, just, the Village of Cold Spring, Roberto Mueller presented the Smart City to the Village of Cold Spring. Mike and I attended a week and a half or so ago. So he went through the presentation, and they're thinking about it, so it's up to them to decide if they want to become a smart city or not, but, you know, right now, it's just the first phase that just the first time they ever saw anything about it, even though I brought it up several times when I do attend the meeting.
Right.
This is the first formal presentation that they've seen on it.
Their first concerns were naturally,
They don't have
obviously,
time to
we're part-time. They were kind of asking us for how many hours are you spending on this, when in reality, it doesn't really work like that. You
Yeah.
obviously have to, and I think when they started hearing that a number of people that attended our meetings was from Cold Spring, I think, it satisfied some of their, first apprehensions about it. But I think,
Yeah, he did.
I think it's positive.
Roberto did a nice job.
Yeah, it's his first.
Karen Erla was there as well.
Right.
Supporting him as well, so just wanted to bring that up, that they're looking at that as well.
So for anyone who's not familiar, it's the Climate Smart Communities Program, where we are trying to lessen our carbon footprint. A lot of counties and communities around the whole Hudson Valley have taken the pledge and set some really ambitious goals, some to become carbon neutral which is really ambitious. But we did appoint a climate smart coordinator, Roberto Muller, and he's already had a meeting with Europa McGovern from DEC, who's heading up the program there. And we're on a path. They're going to form the committee, and we'll be moving on some initiatives shortly. So it's a big deal. I think just by default, the village will wind up in our.
Well, that's what I kind of
Oh,
thought
yeah.
they could
Yeah,
possibly
look,
just do. That's what I
Right,
kind of
because
explained to
most of the
them.
people are from the village. I'm sure we'll get people, we have people from the town.
Yep.
It'll happen. It's not going to cost the village anything. We already have the coordinator. We don't need two different,
That's what I tried
we
to
don't need the
explain to 'em.
redundant
Exactly.
committees or anything like that. But if anyone from the village or the town wants to get on the committee, please, by all means, submit your resume or letter of interest to the clerk's office, and we'll get that to Roberto.
One other thing, I did go to the balloon test yesterday up at Vineyard Road.
Uh-huh.
Okay, they put it up at 150 feet. Ron Gaynor there, our town engineer, was there as well. I left after they put the balloon up, but his next steps were to go to all the neighbors and take pictures from their yards and their concerns, to take a picture from that area of
Right.
the balloon and see if they can actually see it from their house or wherever it happens to be. I don't know about the feet, that's still in works. Did it yesterday. I'm sure we get some feedback from him as well at that. I also, from what I understand, from what I read in an email, I guess the town landfill they're not considering that as an alternate site anymore, or is that true or not
That's what
true?
their
That's what
engineer
the,
said in their
that's,
report
that's the
today was.
report that I read the other day, so I know.
It is true, I went to the meeting yesterday,
Yeah.
last night. They're no longer considering the town dump site or the highway department site because they say that the coverage will not reach the river. So the only site, other site that's being considered now is the Rock Ledge Street, you know that one?
Yeah, that's
Rock
the
Ledge.
original,
Behind the
that's the
cemetery.
original one for the village of, in
And then
Nelsonville.
next week is Secor Street, a hearing?
There's
Is
a
it
Secor is right over here.
Secor,
Yeah, there's a
yeah.
piece of
There's a piece of property
property
that Nelsonville owns that they're gonna take a look at, from what I understand.
Yeah, and they said there's a hearing
I don't know
next
if
week
that's-
about
I don't hold out a lot of hope for that. It's equally inappropriate. It's just.
Well, from the report that they said, if they went to the landfill, the tower needed to be 200 feet, right? And if they went over here, from what I said in Secor, they needed 200 feet there as well. So that was part of the report what I
He
read.
said also there was similar problems between the landfill and Vineyard Road, and they also dismissed the ability for McKeel's Corner Tower.
I misspoke,
So-
that's
But
right.
doesn't that speak a lot to the integrity of this application? Because 2 years ago, we were approached by this same company and went through a long process of trying to get approval for it at the town dump, town landfill, former town recycling center, whatever you want to call it. They came to us and said, this is the appropriate site, this is where we want it, and now it's not appropriate?
Well, Nancy, are there two different sites for two different needs?
I think we're talking about two different applications.
Yes.
One application is for a parcel of property that is behind the Cold Spring Cemetery. The other application is for the Vineyard Road site.
The whole process will be vetted out
On
Monday,
Monday.
November 13th
Okay.
at this.
Right, so if you're interested, come into the ZBA meeting. At the public hearing, the public will be allowed to speak. There are still issues.
Next Monday at the
These applications, personally, I take with a fair amount of suspicion, because it just seems to be convenient that a cell tower on this side of the road is fine, but on this side of the road is not fine, even though it's closer to the river and up higher. That's regarding the Vineyard Road Tower. The McKeel's Corner area, for the life of me, I can't understand why they're not applying to increase the height of that one.
The report said on that one, I misspoken. They said if they go there, it needs to be 200 feet, is what they
And they'll
indicated.
interfere with FAA
But
lighting.
conveniently, it's not 190 feet, which would need FAA approval, but at 200 feet it does. It just seems like they want a site, that's where they want to go, and that's what they're aiming for. I think that, we need to have another consultant, and Ron's got one, to take a look at these sites objectively and determine the real outcome here, because cell tower companies want to build cell towers. They don't make money increasing the height of cell towers or going to areas where they have to spend more money. They want to build them cheaply, and they want to get them up and put as many carriers on there as they can.
coverage for their money.
That's great, that's fine, that's their business, but our business is protecting our view shed and protecting our residents.
I
So-
think they also have to define or explain, but they're obviously discussing the 1996 federal law, but does that federal law mean that if the area is not objecting, because it takes, I think the signal requires 10 times more power if it's going to be inside of a structure in that area versus outside, aren't we really supposed to provide people on roadways or walking or whatever that ability? But if the community maybe doesn't want it inside buildings in that area, that maybe that law doesn't pertain. I think that's a valid question to ask them.
Will that engineer be there Monday, Johnny?
Which engineer?
The one that Ron
I
Gaynor?
don't know if Ron has got him.
There was a Ron there. Okay, Shelley Gilbert, Cold Spring. They said that if the FCC law says that if there is not enough coverage, that they can override the whole community. And, yeah, so that's what the whole argument was about. The balloon test for this particular site on Rockledge is Saturday morning from 8 to 12, I believe, just FYI. Okay, but there was a lot of people there, and, you know, people are not happy about it, as you can imagine.
But as I said just before, I think they make a blanket statement about coverage, but according to our consultant that we had prior, there are different standards for coverage outside and inside buildings, and does that law cover that if a community does not wish to have that? I don't think
Well,
that was answered.
Well,
say, yeah.
they felt that perhaps he answered. That was the sticking point. That
Right.
the FCC says that if AT&T and Verizon say that the coverage is not good enough, it's a public safety hazard, that, you know, the emergency services need to be able to, you know, find somebody on Breakneck Ridge, et cetera, and that's the basis of the decision.
But that's, again, all outside communication reception, not inside.
Inside a home, I'm not
just
sure
saying
about that part,
This
yeah.
gets kind of deep, but the consultant really made me think about that, and I think that's a question that they should
Okay,
answer.
well, and they said this is 110 feet, and they said even a 220-foot one at the highway department or at the town dump did not give the same coverage. A 210 or 220 foot did not provide the same coverage as the 110-foot one
Correct.
at
That's what they said. You're right,
Rockledge,
in the
yeah.
report, yes.
That's all I know.
I didn't think they could go over 200 feet.
They can, but they need FAA approval, you gotta put lights on it.
Lights, okay, but
Yeah.
200 feet is okay.
So 190, if you go to 200.
They need the lights.
Yeah. Well, again, you know, when you listen to the opinion of the applicant, of course, it's not an objective opinion. They're in the business of building towers, they want to build a tower. This will be fully vetted by our ZBA. The Nelsonville application, that's not in our purview. So that's up to Nelsonville. I did send a letter just reaffirming to Nelsonville that, you know, the highway department site was definitely open for consideration, because there seemed to be every time we mentioned this, it was falling on deaf ears, saying, well, we haven't heard back from you. Said it publicly at a zoning board meeting, said it privately in a meeting with the cell tower applicant, put it in writing, and put it in writing to the village of Nelsonville. So I know they're, you know, saying it can't happen, but it seems awfully convenient that it can happen in one spot, can't happen in another. It's mysterious.
Want to go ahead and schedule the meeting to adopt the final budget?
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
a Wednesday.
It's a Thursday.
Oh, it's a Thursday?
So we have a suggested date of November 16th
We're gonna be at lunch, John.
to adopt the final budget. It's a Thursday. I'm fine with that.
Do we need any other workshops prior to that to review
We
anything?
still have the one for,
Next week, you're
the
doing
8th.
the budget,
Right.
budget hearings.
right, for the 8th.
Yeah,
And then you have to have this adopted by the 20th.
right. So,
And 20th is
So
a
we're doing
Monday.
it November 8th, we have a workshop.
November 8th, you
have the
have the
public
public hearings.
Right.
that's already set. So, I'm fine. If I get a motion adopting the final budget, adoption date is November 16th, 2017, 7:30 PM at the Philipstown Town Hall.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. And we did get some more good news today as a verbal that the mortgage rebate tax, we're probably going to exceed our projection by $100,000. So it was a busy year.
That's great.
We have one more resolution, if we could, because we're taking a look at the comprehensive plan, and I'm going to just talk briefly about that. If you're okay with this, Tina, can we go ahead and appoint Nat Prentice as the chair of the Comprehensive Plan Update Committee? So could I get a motion appointing Nat Prentice as chair of the Comprehensive Plan Update Committee?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye. Thanks to Nat. Along with that, I had a meeting with Michelle Smith at the Highland Land Trust today to talk about groundwater resource protection and planning. You know, the county did a study, I think it was 2004, that was pretty good. It was actually very good. And we did one here locally,
2007,
2007, yeah.
the Chasen report, yeah.
So 10 years ago already.
Yep.
But two really great studies, but we do need to update these, and we'd like to coordinate with the village to do sort of a town-wide resource study to make sure that we're doing all we can to protect groundwater. One of the big hazards right now that we know of is road salt, because if you're by a road and it's being salted, we really do need to take a hard look at coming up with an alternative or setting a goal for this year of lessening the amount of salt that we use. I say it every year. We discussed it this year during the highway workshop. We need to do something because it's just, you know, it's not good. And that's just one of the threats to the water source. We do have a lot of sand and gravel in the town, and those are great for as a water resource, but they are also subject to, you know, surface water pollution and groundwater pollution. So we need to take a look at those. It would be good to update both of these. And so to coordinate with the land trust, they're going to do some things, coordinate with the village, because I know they're working on the upper dams, and just to do an assessment of that as a water source and other areas. So with that, I'd like to, at some point in the very near future, we're going to meet with the village and with Russell Urban Mead from Chazen and the Land Trust, just to, you know, round this up and talk about how to move forward to update the groundwater report. So that was one of the items in the comprehensive plan. So if we're going to update the plan, then we should update our groundwater resources, because if you lose your water,
Right.
it's not a good thing.
We don't have an awful lot in the town, obviously. The Clove Creek aquifer is our real main source of water.
Yeah.
If you read a lot of articles in the area, there's a lot of things happening with groundwater. You have one community in one county trying to buy land in another county strictly to use that water table. That creates a lot of different questions. How much can they take? You know, piping going down. What happens to that land's ability and so forth? What about the people around it? How will that affect them and so forth? So this is a big issue, and I think it's, my opinion, I think it's going to become in the next 5 to 10 years a major issue for most areas.
And we have two water districts in the town, and obviously the village is a water district. We do have, a water protection overlay for the Cold Spring Reservoir, so that went into the zoning. But we do have the Beacon water supply in our town,
Right.
so in the Clove Creek.
And Fishkill also has wells in the town of Philipstown.
Right. So, and, Beacon is already, part of the reason they put the moratorium on is because they're facing so much development that they don't know that they can meet the water needs. It's something to think about. The other thing that Cold Spring's going to have to, and I'm sure they are considering right now, is once Butterfield gets up and running, that's going to be quite a draw on the water system. And I don't know, to my knowledge, there was never a study done that says, look, in a drought, how many units can we actually support in a worst-case scenario?
I'm sure the hospital had a big draw as well, but I doubt
Not-
it would match.
Not-
They haven't been using that in 20 years.
Yeah, the hospital has been closed, but also, I don't think they could come close to the number of units you're going to have in there now. That's going to be a big water user, and, I'm neither, definitely will be. But it's something we got to take a look at.
Maybe they should have some type of reserve tanks put in there for part, I don't know if that's planned for or whatever, but maybe it was something that should have been thought about before they did the project.
A lot of things that should have been thought about. But it's, I'm gonna get together with representative of the village and the land trust and the Chazen Company, Russell Urban Mead. He does their groundwater. Then, I got to say, this is an excellent report, but it is again, it's 10 years old, and the county's is 15 years old, and it's an important issue. All right. Anything from the audience?
I just wanted to say one thing about the comprehensive plan before
ahead.
we did have our kickoff meeting last night, and if that's something that we could tie into the comprehensive plan update committee, we have a great group, people from all walks of life in the community are represented. We're open to, more members, and it was, like I said, a great kickoff meeting, and everybody seems really eager to get to work. And one of the things, the common theme that came up was sustainability. And I asked what, sustainability of what? And obviously this issue about the water is the biggest one. So it'll all go together. Thanks, Mike, for, Mike was there and a great resource, having been there from the beginning when you guys first set out to do the first comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
So, again, looks like it's gonna be a good group to work with.
The 2020.
Yeah.
Nancy,
Yeah.
is there people who are on, I don't have a list.
Well,
Of anybody-
it's not finalized. It's open. More people are coming in, hopefully. So I think once we get the final list,
Because I
that will.
keep track of all of that.
Okay, so I'll make sure we did appoint Nat as chair, and
Right.
he's gonna put all that together.
You remember that?
Yeah. So.
All right, audience. Here comes Miss Connor again. I know.
So come to the microphone.
Step up to the mic.
Kim Connor, North Highlands.
Kim?
Hi. So, when you do this water project, does the water get tested?
Yes.
Yeah. And what are you looking for, other than salt?
Well, if you do a New York State Part 5 water quality test, it tests for every known, possible contaminant.
Yeah.
It's a $5,000
So it
test
tests
per
for
test.
pharmaceuticals, for example.
They test for everything.
Okay.
I mean, anything that comes up in that water will be shown in that.
Yeah.
So they're not
And-
specifically looking for something. They're going to find every chemical compound that's in that water.
Okay. Yeah.
But
And that's a public document.
Those are public documents, yeah. We did some water testing in the past, and in a lot of areas, not surprisingly, the persistent pathogen is road salt.
Yeah.
So-
There have been these reports this year about fish in Puget Sound, like wild-caught salmon, that show up with traces of, birth control and OxyContin and all those kinds of compounds. And they're small molecules, and they don't break down caffeine, things like that. So I'm just curious if that would show up in this kind of study.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in New York State Part 5, that stuff would show up because it's the most comprehensive test. It's not like if you have a Board of Health, the Putnam County profile, they're testing for the big ones. They're looking
Yeah.
for coliform bacteria, lead, things like that.
Good.
But there are so many things that you wouldn't think, like if you test for iron, fine. If the water is higher in iron, that's not that great for you, but iron can also shield another type of bacteria, which is really harmful
Yeah.
that people don't know about. So.
Good to know. Okay. Thank you.
Private wells too, or just?
Well, the hope is that we'll get some people in different points of the town to volunteer and pay for a test. So there are people of means who own pretty big tracts of land who probably would like to know what's in their water. Everybody would like to know. And as far as drinking water quality goes, the Putnam County profile does give you, a level of protection. But we would like to know exactly what is in the water at all these different data points throughout the town. So that's the hope on that. But, I'll keep you posted. Anything else? Nothing, Jen?
I'm Jen McCreary. I'm the director at the Desmond Fish Library. And I should come next week for the budget hearing, but I wanted to say thank you to the town board for supporting the library in the proposed 2018 budget. I'm very happy to report that after the nor'easter on Monday, I went downstairs and I always sort of trepidatiously opened the door to our back storage room, and it was dry, which was a wonderful thing to see. And we are starting construction in that space, a renovation of the storage space into a new innovation and learning center, which will be a maker space for the library, for kids, for our coding club, and for local organizations to come in and do group trainings for adult computer classes and that kind of thing. So we're really excited to be able to use the space in a new way, thanks in part to the town's support of our waterproofing project. So thank you again, and I'll be back on Wednesday to say thank you again.
I got to say, Jen McCreary is the #1 reason that we fund the library.
Thank you.
Just that you come out and say thanks. Okay?
That's right.
Next year, can
Which
we
is
put
just
her on the agenda so she doesn't
Let's
have to
put-
sit through
exactly.
the
Put
whole
me on the
meeting?
agenda.
And we'll put
I
you
think
number
Jen
one.
enjoys being here with us.
Well,
I do.
November will remember you're number one on the
November.
agenda.
Thank you.
Wow,
And
you
I
could do
also,
a
I should
wrap
say
about
that in 2018, we are doing a comprehensive plan for the library that'll
Nice.
be published hopefully by the end of this year. And that's based a lot on the community's feedback and the survey that we did earlier this year. So it's a very community-focused plan, and I'm very happy about that as well. So thank you guys for your
Thanks,
help.
Jen.
Yeah.
Right. All right, thank you. Hi, Kim. How's it going? Good. Vacancies. There's one vacancy on the rec department. We're advertising for it. Approval of vouchers, general. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Highway.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Continental Village Park District.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Continental Village Water District.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Call it quits. Nice work, board.
Thank you.